With an incoming transfer, a veteran guy, and two young guys who have high potential, this year's Syracuse big men will be very fun to watch. And today, we will be taking a look at each of the Orange's guys at the center position, expectations, and more. Now, if you're going to enjoy the video and Syracuse basketball content, subscribe for weekly videos and interviews with the Syracuse basketball team. So let's go ahead and start off with our expected starting center, Naheem McLeod. He played 2 seasons with the Florida State Seminoles. He's standing at 7'5", which is the tallest player in Syracuse basketball history. And he also poses just a really big presence in the paint on both sides of the floor. He scores at the rim really well. He shot 62% at Florida State from the field. He's also a defensive weapon with a 10.3 block rate. He shoots very smart shots. His shot selection is very accurate. He has a high presence when it comes to IQ on the court. He knows what shots to put up, what shots to pass out, and where to be and when. Now, he plays in the post well due to his height, but could use a little bit of development when it comes to his post moves and playing off a defender. He actually scored 22% of his points when posting up. He scores well off putbacks and crashing the offensive glass. Now, let's go ahead and break down how he scores percentage-wise. 22% of the time he scores the ball by posting up. 21% of his buckets are off putbacks. 19% off cuts, and majority of those are backdoor alley-oops. Again, he's standing at 7'5", so that's a really easy pass if defender slips up, and Naheem McLeod can kind of slip back into that backdoor cut. So 19% on cuts, 14% pick and roll or pick and pop, and 12% buckets in transition. So he's very versatile. He scores the ball in many different ways. You would think it would kind of just be posting up or getting those offensive rebounds, but he's smart. As I said, 19% off cuts. He makes accurate cuts. He knows how to read a defender when their back is turned to him. So that's definitely something you should really, really pay attention to, because I think Autry and the rest of the coaching staff is hopefully going to use that to their advantage. If other teams are playing that Syracuse 2-3 zone that everybody hates or loves, then if their big guys in the paint in the middle go ahead and slip up, say a guard cuts between those two guards at the top, and that defender is forced to push up, those shot selections are normally going to be open for Naheem McLeod as those backdoor alley-oops or even just drop passes and stuff like that. And as I said, when we do go back to that 2-3 here and there, McLeod will just be an elite and defender, and he'll affect shots anywhere inside the arc. I mean, really, it's kind of like Jesse in a similar way. Strength-wise, McLeod's just a little stronger than Jesse, but then experience-wise, Jesse has a little bit more experience when it comes to load management and playing time and stuff like that. But McLeod can really just be another Jesse Edwards guy for us. Maybe not scoring the ball as much as Jesse did for us, but defensively, he can be just as good, if not better, than Jesse was, I'm hoping. And I think playing 2 years in the ACC under his belt, I think third year in the ACC, new team, fresh start, will definitely be somebody to look out for, definitely possibly on that ACC all-team defense and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and check out Mounir Hima. I mean, we didn't see too much from him last year. He averaged 7.4 minutes per game last year with the Orange, and he kind of acted as a sub when Edwards got in foul trouble last season, and he will likely do the exact same for McLeod this year. He defends the interior really, really well, and the only thing that really he did not do much of at all was score the ball. He needs to improve his inside scoring, and there's no doubt in my mind that that's what the coaches and the coaching staff are working on with him this offseason, because if McLeod does get in that foul trouble, then we're going to have a guy come off the bench such as Mounir Hima, just as he did for Jesse Edwards. And, you know, I think in the earlier stages of Jesse's career, he had more foul trouble than McLeod has really ever had. He managed it better, Jesse did, last year than other years, but I'm not too familiar with McLeod's fouling, how he gets in that situation, but also he was not a starter for Florida State last season, so he did not have as many opportunities to foul opposing teams because the lack of minutes last year. But this year, a lot more minutes, I would assume, coming from Naheem McLeod, so hopefully he can contain his fouls. Again, he's 7'5", so he's going to want to block shots. He's going to want to get out. He's going to want to affect shots, get his hand in the opposing team's face. So I'm hoping fouls-wise he can manage that. But again, Mounir is a guy who's probably going to come off the bench for us and probably going to be in the game when McLeod is not. Now, statistically, Mounir Hima was one of the best shot blockers per minute played in the country last summer. Alongside McLeod, he could be one of the best defensive teams in the ACC, the Orange. I mean, McLeod he's super tall, and he knows how to play defense strategically, and his IQ is through the roof. And then when it comes to Mounir Hima, I mean, when you really look at the stats, I know some people love to look at stats and some people don't, but if you just take a look at them, for the amount of minutes he played and the amount of shots he blocked when he was on the court, it's insane. Jesse Edwards was up there with one of the top shot blockers in the country, but so was Mounir Hima when you look at blocks per minute played. And Mounir Hima last year didn't take many shots in general. I know his best game, I believe, was against St. John's. I think he had like 4 blocks or something like that. But he does convert pretty well when attempted. He shot 42% from the field last season. So another guy to just look off coming off the bench. Again, we haven't even gotten into the guards, and we won't in this episode, but we're a really guard-heavy team this year. Judah, JJ, guys like that. Chance Westry coming off the bench. Quadir, Justin Taylor, who can play the 2. Those guys, they can score the ball. So we're not going to need our backup center to be a primary scoring option for us, but he is going to need to put the basket sometimes, mismatches and stuff like that. But he's not going to be a Jesse guy, Mounir Hima, where we feed him in the paint. We expect him to go to the rim and put the ball in the basket. He's going to be a defensive guy, a defensive presence for us, even when we're in that man. But let's go ahead and shift over to 2 guys who we haven't seen much of. First guy being Peter Carey. He took a medical redshirt last season after appearing in just a few games. And when you really want to get into the injury, he had a knee procedure done at the beginning of last season. He had the same procedure done a year before that, his senior year of high school, because of a partially torn patellar tendon. He underwent PRP, which is where you inject your own blood to improve the tendon's healing process. And this worked his senior year of high school on one knee, so the coaching staff thinks this will work long-term on the other knee. And another guy that we've seen with knee injuries for Syracuse basketball fans is Barama Sidibe. They really hurt his career, so I'm really hoping a guy like Peter Carey, who we haven't seen much of, can bounce back strong. And now when you're just looking at his game, regardless of the injury, we really have not seen anything from him. I mean, we saw him play in the freshman scrimmage last year, and we saw him appear in, I believe, maybe a couple games, but that's about it. He's tall, athletic, he's long, and coming out of high school, 24/7 Sports recruit analyst Adam Finkelstein had him listed as an upside, as a lob catcher, shot blocker, and rim runner. And it will be really interesting to see how much he plays this upcoming season, assuming, I have not heard much about his injury, so I'm just going to assume that he's doing better, hopefully. But, again, have not seen much of him, so there's not really much to talk about, and he probably will be like a third-string guy for us when it comes to that center position. But a guy who we actually had on the podcast now, we had Naheem McLeod on the podcast a little while back, but now we got to shift over to our only incoming freshman, our true freshman we have for the 2023 season. 7'2", 220 pounds, William Patterson. This kid puts the ball through the rim with authority. He dunks everything at his height. 7'2", as just going to be a freshman in college. He played for the Patrick School in New Jersey. And when he was on our podcast, he said that he did not care if you were his teammate or not. In practice, it was a kill or be killed mentality to be better than the guy in front of you because you're looking to take their spot. He's a very competitive guy, and he wants to win basketball games. Not just this season, but every season he's at Syracuse. It's kind of the same situation as McLeod, where when we do go back to that 2-3 zone, he can be a huge interior contributor for us. Again, he probably won't play much his freshman year, but he can develop really well going up against guys like Naheem and Mounir in practice, and then just watching those guys work in-game and stuff like that. He's a traditional big man. He dunks, he rebounds, he blocks shots. He's very physical, and he's also a really solid free throw shooter. So honestly, these big, I'm really, really, really excited to see how these bigs turn out this year. I'm really hoping Peter Carey can bounce back from injury. I think Mounir Hima might have had a couple minor injury problems last year. I know he told me some stuff about that on Instagram DMs and stuff like that. But William Patterson, I'm really looking forward to seeing, hopefully maybe some clips of him in practice, or maybe he gets some late minutes and stuff like that. And then Naheem, obviously we had him on the show as well, and I'm super excited to see how he will fit in to our scheme defensively and on the offensive side of the ball as well. But if you enjoyed this episode of the Light It Up Sports Podcast, make sure you guys subscribe down below. Comment down below what you guys think of these bigs, how we're going to pan out this year. And I appreciate you guys for watching. Peace.